It's party time, my golf story brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, welcome to the program. We got a good one for you. We got somebody from my backyard. Well, my adopted backyard. He's from Needham, Massachusetts, Taylor Kay-Green, and he is the definition of somebody that is chasing his dream. He's very articulate about what he's going through in trying to make it ultimately to the PGA Tour and to make a living in professional golf. Is a deep thinker with a lot of things and is very expressive and vulnerable about what it takes, what his day in and day out chasing the dream as a professional golfer is involved. So Taylor's coming up in a little bit. I also have an update on some of our past guests. I've forgotten. Look, I'm sorry. I've forgotten the past couple times. I said I was going to update you on their progress, but now I have more information to share about that, which I'll do throughout the course of the show. Big thanks to our title sponsors. First of all, our golf real estate pros, Vince Vizzacaro and Gene Walsh. If your dream is to live on a golf course in Southwest Florida, there's nobody better than the real estate team of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. Check out suncoastdreams.com, or you can also give them a call, and you'll see the number scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Well, I can give it to you right now. It's 941-220-4000. And of course, a big thanks to Party Drinks, the title sponsor of It's Party Time, my golf story. If you're looking for a good drink alternative on the golf course or after your round, there's nothing better than Party. Real canned cocktails. Stop trying to convince yourself that High Noon and some of those other things taste good. There's nothing better than a Party drink. And for the list of the different places, that'll be scrolling across the screen in just a moment or two. All right, so let's bring in the man of the hour, Taylor Kay-Green. Hey, what's going on, man? Like, how did we... So I moved down to Florida 3 years ago from Wellesley, Massachusetts, and you were the next town over in Needham. How did our paths not cross?
I have no idea, Kevin, but thanks for having me on your show, and I'm glad we met, and I guess better late than never.
The timing is right. It was meant to be at this time and in this format. Happy to know you. I want to go all the way back to the beginning. I want to know where you are right now, how things are going. But I am somewhat of an aficionado of names, and your name jumps out at me, Taylor Kay-Green, with the hyphen there. Is there a story behind it?
Not really a story. I mean, I just think both sides of my family are great, and my parents knew that, so they wanted to honor both sides, I guess.
Okay, cool. Where are you joining us from right now? You're on the east coast of Florida. Where exactly?
Yes, I am in Stuart, which is a little north of Jupiter. And yeah, it's a great spot, except today it's raining.
Oh my gosh. Over here on the west coast of Florida in the Gulf, it was so windy. I would say it was steady 25-mile-an-hour winds for a while, gusting up to 40. I mean, it was affecting putting. It was not the best day to play golf, but if you're playing competitive golf, sometimes you just got to play through that stuff. Your journey to competitive golf, where does it begin? When did you know pro golf was for you?
I think I knew probably sophomore year of high school that I wanted to play pro golf. I wasn't any good in sophomore year of high school, but I realized that it was the sport for me. I had played a lot of other sports growing up, football, baseball, basketball, and a couple others, and I played golf and a little bit, and I realized that the one I loved the most was golf.
What was it? What was it about it that's like, this is for me? This sings to me. This is where my heart is.
I think it was the difficulty of the game and that feeling that we talked about earlier before the show, which was just when you hit that perfect shot, there's nothing like that.
Yeah, it's chasing pure. And even if it's a little offline, when you hit a long iron off a tight lie and you got it just 100%, it goes like Ben Hogan said, it goes up through your hands, through your arms and into your heart. I get it. Take me back to where you grew up and give me a feel for your neighborhood. What street did you grow up on, and what was life like? Let me feel like I was your neighbor, like looking in on your life.
So I was in Needham, as you said, and lived on Fair Oaks Park, which is a very nice street. It was cool because there was kind of a median in the middle of our street. So I felt like there was a lot of space to run around as a kid and play all the sports talked about, like football, baseball, basketball. Had great neighbors. I had a really good friend who lived across the street from me, and we used to play a bunch of sports. And he had older sisters. I also have an older sister, so we bonded over that. And then we had the typical like 4th of July parties and Thanksgiving like football games. So it was just a really nice American upbringing, I think.
Yeah, Needham is a great place. I've spent a good amount of time. I used to go over to Needham a lot to go to Cafe Fresh Bagel, which are you familiar with it?
Very solid, yes.
Oh my gosh, is that not the best place? In the morning or whatever, the bagels are so good, and the crowd's pretty good too. You got a lot of the Babson students who I think are shaking off a little dust from the night before.
And it's not the only one. There's Bagels Best, I thought, is a great bagel shop as well. I don't know if you've been there, but whenever Cafe Fresh was too busy, which is kind of a lot of the time, I mean, it's a really quick line, but I would go to Bagels Best and haven't found a better bagel outside of Needham.
I know. I love my bagels. There are certain things that got to be spot on, and bagels one of them. I didn't know we'd be talking about bagels, but I love when you take a detour like that for the best things. Check out the places that Taylor just talked about. So you were a football player. What was that like? Were you any good?
I was decent. Some would say I was a slow runner, but I was a receiver, had pretty good hands, caught a couple of touchdowns in high school. And I do wish I played a little bit more football, but golf was the same season as football, so I had to choose one and went with golf.
I got you. And you also cut your teeth. For those that are familiar with the Boston golf scene, the two clubs really jump out at me if you really want to hone your game. If you want to be around good players, the players' clubs are Charles River Country Club and Thorny Lee in Brockton. What was it like growing up at Charles River, and who was around you that maybe you aspired to?
Growing up at Charles River was amazing. I don't know how I got so lucky to be at that club, but the golf course, so Donald Ross, there's so many different things about it that are spectacular. The greens are probably the main thing that people notice, is just so much slope, so many different challenges every single day, and so many different pin locations. And then the people there, it's the best club in the world. The people are amazing, and there's too many of them to thank. There's a couple that I'd like to shout out, as Ben Reese, and then Pam Kwong, and I think who you're referring to is James Driscoll. James played on the PGA Tour, and he was kind of a mentor to me and taught me a ton about the game. And thank you to everyone else there as well. It's just amazing, that place.
Well, you had a pretty memorable round with James Driscoll and somebody else. It was a career low. What was it? Take me through it.
Yeah, it was just a casual round, so there's a little asterisk there. But I shot 63 playing with James, and then Joe Harney and my friend Cole Kelly. who was a college teammate, and Joe won the Mass Open. So amazing player as well. And Cole, he won some college tournaments. So I knew that day I had to bring my A game, and I blacked out and couldn't miss a putt, and then, shot 63. So that was very fun.
Well, tell me about it. I mean, let's take a deeper dive into that. You said you blacked out. I kind of get it. So were you in the zone?
Yeah, I guess the zone. I did make 2 bogeys.
Mm-hmm.
So, it wasn't, I came out of the zone a little bit, and then got myself back in there. And yeah, I mean, I just started off I think I made a par on the first hole, which is honestly, it feels like a birdie a lot of the time. It's probably one of the toughest first holes in golf, where it's 420, but there's a creek and obstacles that make you basically have to lay back and have 210 uphill, usually into the wind, for your second shot on the first hole of the day. And I, somehow made par there. And then made birdie on the second hole, which is par 5, 2 good shots and 2 putts, I believe. And then made a couple more birdies. And the fifth hole, which a lot of people know, is probably the most diabolical green you could ever imagine, where it's just sloped tremendously back to front. Mm-hmm. And if your ball rolls off the front, you're going to have basically a 60-yard wedge shot coming back up to the green. And I ended up 3-putting that hole and making bogey, which is another almost a par. Then I just started stuffing wedges. I think 6th hole, hit a good tee shot, hit a gap wedge to a foot. 7th hole is a par 5 dogleg right. It can be converted into a par 4. It's
mm-hmm.
A little questionable, but hit a good drive.
You're feeling it. You're hot. Do you ever do math in your head? Do you always know where you are in relation to par, or you're just lost in the moment and hitting whatever shot is required?
I think when I'm playing well, I don't know where I'm at, and I'm just focused on making the next birdie. But if someone asked me, I probably just quickly add it up, and I'm like, all right, I'm this many under.
Mm-hmm. At any point, are you just like, hey, this is a good round, let's just get it in? Or are you just trying to make as many birdies as you can, and you run out of holes and you're like, holy smokes, that was great?
I think my playing philosophy has a lot to do with learning, and sometimes that can help me and sometimes it can hurt me. And so I feel like I know when I'm going to play well or not. And there's only been a couple times where I know for a fact, all right, my game is so tight right now, it's so good right now that I'm going to just continue to make birdies. But if you're seeing a consistent miss in your game, if the putter doesn't feel amazing, then, sometimes you get a little tentative and you just try to get it in the house.
Taylor Kay-Green is our guest on It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative, then Party is a drink for you. And for a list of places that it's available, you can check it out online at drinkparty.com. And a big thanks to the real estate pros, Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. If your dream is to live on a golf course in Southwest Florida, no better team than Gene and Vince. You can check them out at suncoastdreams.com. And they're based in Lakewood National, which, by the way, has 2 Arnold Palmer golf courses, has 1,500 plus homes, and about 50 availabilities right now. So if you're, and there's a good coach home available. So if you want to get down here to Florida, or you're already here and you're like, I want to be at that place because everybody else wants to be, then check them out at suncoastdreams.com. So going to college, Taylor, you went to Trinity College. How did you arrive at that decision, and what was the experience like?
So I met the coach there, Matt Greason, in Ireland, actually, at a golf tournament. And he was just fantastic. And he's probably the main reason why I decided to go there, along with the academic offerings that Trinity had. And, I feel like I got really lucky at that school. The guys on the team were fantastic. And there was 8 guys that came in my freshman year that were on the team, and we roomed together, just had an absolute blast.
So it was for you, and it kind of sets you on the stage for the next step in life. When did you just decide to turn pro, and what went into that decision making, or it was a no-brainer?
It was kind of a no-brainer. I don't know if my parents want me to say this, but I probably wanted to turn pro like before college and just, give it a go, which wouldn't have necessarily been the smartest thing. But I knew that's what I wanted to do, at least for a couple of years, and just to see what would happen.
Well, as I don't think I'm breaking news to you or anybody else, it's a grind. You've had status before, PGA Tour Canada, and have lost it. What was that experience? Well, let's talk about Q School, going through that, because I know you got a pretty good story about that. What is it?
Yeah, I get to the site for a practice round, and I think it's maybe the day before the tournament, and this kid comes walking up, and he's like, "Hey, can I join you for your practice round?" And he said it in pretty good English, and it was an Asian person, and it turns out that he had just gotten off a 20-hour trip from Japan to get to the U.S. to play this Q School, and it was his first time in the U.S., first time talking to an American, and I was, the first guy he met, and he was super nice. We got along well in the practice round, and we're kind of like, all right, good luck, play well, and then we ended up being paired together in the final round. We were both playing well, right, kind of on the bubble of getting status or not, and we, kind of fought it out in that final round. I made a 15-foot putt on the last hole for birdie to get status, and gave a little fist bump. And then I look over, and his name's Genki Okada. Mm-hmm. And he was clapping, and then he gave me a bow, and it reminded me of when Hideki won the Masters, and it was just really special. And I unfortunately I knocked him off of his out of the position to get status. He kind of got conditional status, so I felt bad about that. But I did end up seeing him in Canada. We were friends there. He played well, and he still has status. So I guess he's the one laughing now.
Genki Okada. I think that's so cool because, yes, I do remember Hideki's caddy bowing at the Masters. It just an incredible picture, just perfect timing for the photographer that got that, but just the true respect in Asian cultures, especially Japanese culture. And I know this because I lived in Asia for a while, and to get a bow from somebody is of the highest honor. And I just felt like, as you're telling that, I'm right there with you. I mean, it sticks with you. But it was tough in Canada. So what was your welcome to pro golf moment where it's like, holy smokes, these guys can play?
I think my welcome to golf moment is probably playing with James Driscoll. Seeing him, he was on tour for 9 years, and just seeing him in the gym, his short game, putting, mental aspects of the game, and his swing, it's just you're not going to see anything like that unless it's a PGA Tour player. And I knew from watching him that all right, you got to be like really, really good to make it in this game if you want to compete with someone like James. And I would say beyond that, like when I was playing in Canada. I think the biggest one was recently. I was playing a Korn Ferry Q School, and I forget the person's name. I think it was this guy Scott Stevens. He was just hitting the ball like 360 360 yards, and I saw him he made a hole in one. He easily got through first stage of Korn Ferry Q School. And when I played with him, like that first or second round, it was some of the best golf I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's kind of like holy crap moments. Like I don't got 360, but you're pretty long, aren't you? What's your stock drive?
I'm pretty long. I'd say it's 300, 310.
Right. And that's about average, maybe a touch above average now, but 360 is just, I've seen it. I've seen it with Brandon Matthews, who played the PGA Tour last year. He got his status through Korn Ferry, considered the longest man in professional golf. And it was hard I caddied for him, and it was hard to follow his ball because it's gone so fast and then it's so far that little white ball when it's 360 or like 340 and still in the air and hasn't come down yet, it's hard to see, right?
Yeah, crazy.
That's what it was like with the guy that you're telling me about?
That's what it was like, but I've seen that before, and that's not the scary part, because usually if you see that, you're like, all right, he's not going to be able to keep it in play. But he hit every drive down the middle, and then the scariest part was when he was like his irons and wedges were insane, and like when he made the hole in one, I knew right when he hit the ball, I'm like, all right, like that's in the hole. That was the best swing I've ever made. There's no way that's not in the hole, and that's pretty scary.
Yeah, and that's all around you, but you fight through it, and I'm sure that inspires you in some way and gives you reminders. All right, I got to work on this, but there are other ways that you can beat people as well. Taylor Kay-Green is our guest here on It's Party Time. My golf stories from Needham, Massachusetts. He's on the other coast in Florida, in Stuart, right about now. Taylor, sit tight for a second because I want to update some people on business, and I wanted to update some of our past guests before because I screwed up. I told you that at the beginning of the show. I forgot. I told everybody I was going to mention what our past guests are doing and just some updates on the business of the show. First of all, would you do me a favor? Can you subscribe and like the podcast? That goes a long way with the nerds at YouTube because they keep track of stuff like that. An update on our growth. We now have over 100,000 views. We have 500 subscribers, which I'm blown away because when we started It's Party Time, My Golf Story, I thought if we could have 200 regular viewers and listeners on the podcast, it would have been worth it. And we would have done something, and we've just massively surpassed that. I almost can't believe it, but I can believe it because there's people like Taylor Kay-Green and other guests that we've had who come on and they share like a deep part of their life, and they peel back the curtain for us. They get on Oprah's couch and kind of just say, this is what it's like. This is what I'm going through. And I appreciate that from Taylor and everybody else. Okay, here are some of the updates. Brian Ritchie, he recently lost in a playoff on the West Florida Golf Tour at Orange Tree, and he's off to Mexico to play in PGA of America events. Andrew Ferret, my buddy from Purdue University, fellow graduate, he shot an 8 under par, 64 in the first round of the, hold on a minute, I can't even read my own writing here, Twin Rivers Classic. He was even on his second round and lost in the playoffs, so Andrew's playing good golf. Christian DeMarco is off to the Asian Tour. Our friend Sophia Warren, who works at Lakewood National Golf Club, she is starting her journey again on the All-Women's Pro Tour. I saw her just a week ago on the chipping area at Lakewood National. She said her golf's in a good place. She also got a sponsor, Grayson Clothing, and she said she's going to be doing a lot of driving with her mom, who does caddying for around Louisiana and also Texas. One other thing about Brian Ritchie, I guess this is, I'm not sharing anything personal that I shouldn't be because it was on his Instagram. He and his wife are expecting their second child, and it's a boy. So that's cool. And Kevin Roy, who we had on a couple of weeks ago, he is playing in this week's Valspar in Tampa. And after the first round, he was tied for second. So those are some of the updates on some of the guys that are playing. And so that's it. So I didn't want to mess up 3 straight times again. Taylor, still with me here? Let's get back to you. People are like, you keep saying you're going to update stuff and you don't do it. And I'm like, so there, I did it. Cool. And because I know as a past journalist, the story's never over. People, whatever happened to, give me an idea, even if it's not much, just, bring me up to speed or just let me know they're okay. So there we go. This is the housekeeping stuff. Tell me this. I have never come across a competitive golfer who at some point didn't hate the game. Is that your story too?
Well, I think I've thought to myself before, like, do I hate golf right now when I'm playing bad? But then if I think deeply, I'll honestly say I don't think I've ever actually hated the game, because I think suffering is part of it. And I've definitely suffered a lot with this game, but I don't think I've ever really genuinely hated it before.
Because it's a big part of who you are. It's in your soul. Is that right? Does it feel like it's a part of your DNA? Like taking golf away, you're not quite the same person, or is that too deep?
I think that's true. Yeah, it's in my soul. It's been in my family a decent period of time. And I don't know what life would be like without it.
Yeah, me neither. Tell me about your grandfather. There's Scottish roots and Cape Cod roots. Tell me about.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know if it was my grandfather or my great-grandfather, but someone was brought over from Scotland to be a head pro at clubs on the Cape. And I remember that, it was kind of a family story that the reason was because of the Scottish accent that my great-grandfather had. And, no other reason. It was like, oh, we like your accent. You're going to be head pro. We're bringing you over here.
Well, the game started there, so you may as well have somebody that's closest to the heart of it. And we see that in broadcasting. I know a number of networks, they love having like the British voice or the Scottish voice. I think it just sounds good to the ear, the Scottish and British accent.
I actually have the shirt. This is
what is that?
Cruden Bay. That's where my great-grandfather is from. It's in Scotland. And my dad went over there recently and got me this shirt. So thanks, Dad.
So have you been to the homeland?
I've been to Scotland. I haven't been to Cruden Bay, but I played the old course, played like Kings Barnes, Jubilee.
What was that like?
It was cool. I think I expected the golf to be different than how it was. But I probably got like a weird, the weather was good when I was there. So
did it feel spiritual?
Yeah, a little bit. When you play the old course, which, we got lucky to play because of the lottery. I played with one of my high school friends, Brandon Eaton, and he's a great guy. And we have pictures from that day. And we took some pictures on the bridge. I think it's like 17, 18, that area. And it's pretty special. But I like, golf in Ireland, maybe a little bit more than Scottish golf. It's just kind of, more of a challenge off the tee, I would say. There's it's like greener grass, more, tight fairways, thicker grass. And Scotland, I felt like I could hit it anywhere.
Right. Lusher in Ireland. Green, living up to the thing.
Very green.
I'm a big fan of humble work, doing humble work. I caddy. All right. If there's anything more humble than that, I'm sure there is, but I know it's humble work, but to me, there's value in that. Getting your hands dirty, feeling like you helped somebody, a hard day's work. I know you've done hard work. You've waited tables before. Tell me about that.
Yes. So I was a busser, did a little bit of waiting tables at a French restaurant in Needham. and it's called Petit Robert. I think they closed recently, but my boss is this guy named Jay, and he was fantastic. But the work itself is difficult. Sometimes you have to deal with difficult people. You got to do a lot of cleaning and cooking, prepping things. I would, as a busboy, I was basically responsible for making the bread, which, it seems simple, but it's not always that easy to make a perfect loaf of bread that your boss is happy with. And yeah, I know that I'm very privileged to be able to be playing golf right now. And that's all due to my parents and a lot of my friends. And I'm very thankful for them and for what they've done for me.
You have a good support system around you. You can't do it alone. You just can't. Tell me about your parents.
Yeah. So hold on one second. My mom's name is Freddie. That's Fredie, and that's her real name, not a nickname or anything. And she's the sweetest woman in the world for sure. Very hardworking. I think I get a lot of my work ethic from her. She has a nonprofit that she's been running right now, and she's doing kind of like women's history. And making an online museum for women's history, which I think is cool. And we don't hear enough about women's history. And that's why she's doing what she's doing. And then my dad, his name's Tom. He's a golfer. He's been playing for a long time. He played in high school. And he is the smartest person I know, and maybe doesn't, he works extremely hard as well as my mom, but maybe doesn't have to work the same amount of hours just because he's so smart. And I learned a ton from both of them throughout the years. I learned a lot about golf, my grip, stance, everything is from my dad. And, I'm very thankful to have them. I also have an older sister, and learned a lot from her. And she's a doctor now doing pediatrics. She's in NICU at Northeastern Chicago Children's. Yeah.
Excellent. That's cool. There's somebody else in your life that has had a profound influence. Mike Sweeney. Who is Mike Sweeney?
Yeah. Mike is my roommate. He's a fellow professional golfer. And our story's pretty interesting, pretty unique. I think we met on the minor league tour. We had a similar, I guess, vibe and mentality around the game. And I didn't know what Mike was going through when I met him. And he was kind of basically living out of his car in order to play pro golf. He was kind of parking his car at Walmart parking lots and sleeping there. And then I would just see him at tournaments, and he'd be smiling, like saying hi to everyone. And it's just, most positive guy there. And then he would also win the golf tournaments, which I thought was crazy. Mm-hmm. And I admire him and his work ethic. And now, last year I had him stay with me for a couple of weeks. He got into some Korn Ferry Tour events, made a hole-in-one in a Korn Ferry Tour event from like 230 with a 4-iron. It was like a slam dunk. It was pretty nuts. And then this year we decided to live together in Stewart. And we have another friend. His name's Peter Bradbeer. We all practice together. And we practice at 247 Indoor Golf in Stewart, which is owned by Billy Orr. And he's got a brother, Jimmy, who helps out a lot and does bike stuff there. But it's just a fantastic group of guys. And I'm very, very happy to have found all of them.
Yeah, it's cool because that's the camaraderie of of the mini tours. And what you said about Mike sleeping in his car is not all that uncommon. Sleeping in cheap motels or whatever, because money is super tight. But if you can play and you have that dream and you have that drive, whatever it takes, is that kind of, your philosophy about it all?
Mike's playing in, you mentioned Brian Ritchie. Mike's playing in that tournament in Tulum, the PGA Americas event. And he made the cut. So hopefully, and that's happening right now. So hopefully he'll have a good weekend. But it's all about the camaraderie and just, I want to win all the tournaments, but I want Mike to come in second.
I got it. Well, hey, look, I mean, it's competitive. It's like, it's me or you. Sorry, Taylor, it's going to be me. I want to win. But I also know someday that's you doing it to me. And that's sort of, it's nothing personal. I mean, that's the professional way. Hey, Taylor, listen, I really enjoyed talking to you. I appreciate you opening up your life story and sharing it with me. And as I hope you get status again soon and you keep just grinding away, because that's I'm not telling you something you don't know. There are no shortcuts. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed this podcast and look forward to watching your future episodes.
Thank you very much. Okay. As we wrap it up and say goodbye to Taylor, I want to thank our sponsors one last time. The real estate professionals, Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro from suncoastdreams.com. If your dream is to live on a golf course in Southwest Florida, I'm telling you, the best place for you is Lakewood National Golf Club. They are stationed there. They live there. They're my neighbors. I actually live with Gene Walsh. She's my wife. So give them a call at 941-220-4000. And you can also check them out at suncoastdreams.com. And if you're looking for a better drink alternative than High Noon and other stuff, whatever you're drinking on the golf course, try a Party. And for a list of the different places, you can find it at drinkparty.com. For Taylor Kay-Green, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on It's Party Time, my golf story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, my golf story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.
This is Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh with the suncoastdreams.com real estate team at Fine Properties. We've helped hundreds of families find their dream homes in golf and resort communities in Lakewood Ranch, Bradenton, Sarasota, Parrish, Venice, and the surrounding areas.
Let us be your guides to finding your dream home here as well. Learn more at suncoastdreams.com or call us at 941-220-4000.